Yo, YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, one of our community members alerted me of this story about what Lebanon is going through right now as far as food crises due to the devaluation of their local currency. Now, I wasn't going to go over this article to begin with, but there's something in this article that we can all learn from. There's probably more than one thing in this article that we can learn from, but there's one thing that I really want you to take away from this article. It's not very long, so let me go ahead and start reading it. First, ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a quick preview as to what's going on with the Lebanese economy. This is a separate article, and it says Lebanon, an economy sliding into devastation. As of March 21st, the historical drop in the Lebanese lira has triggered nationwide protests. Protesters have lost hope, and public rage is escalating as the days goes on. The protests and rapid devaluation of the currency have raised the pressure for a new government. The absence of state authority, an economic crisis, corruption, hunger, blackouts, and inadequate inoculations are only a few issues when you consider the current situation there. According to most people, Lebanon is facing its worst crisis since the civil war in the country that spanned from 1975 to 1990, and the situation is getting worse. I've stated several times in the past that the weaker that a currency gets, the less that you can buy with it. And once a family has to spend 40 or more % of their income on food, just on feeding their families, that then they start to protest. Finishing it up here, it says that Lebanon is one of the countries that applies a fixed exchange rate. In the first half of 2019, $1 US dollar in Lebanon was equal to 1,500 Lebanese liras. In October of the same year, the currency shortage caused the libra to depreciate against the US dollar for the first time in 22 years, and a new black market emerged. And it says here, ladies and gentlemen, that since April of 2020, banks in Lebanon do not give fresh dollars and convert the demanded amount at a rate of $1 for 3,900 Lebanese lira, while the black market rates was more than 1 for 14,000 Lebanese lira. Reportedly, the bank's reserves are close to 16 billion, while it owes to the banking sector approximately 80 billion. So they have a reserve of 1/5 of what they actually owe. And in this country, the central banks / the governments, they subsidize a lot of the food. So not only do they owe 5 times the amount that they have in reserves, but they still need that money in order to subsidize food. All right, let's go ahead and get to the original article, ladies and gentlemen. Lebanon's deteriorating economy and expected reduction of subsidies and political inertia have left the population at risk of acute hunger within months. Experts told UPI, warning of a potential humanitarian crisis requiring immediate international intervention. Now, if you all remember, ladies and gentlemen, Lebanon is a country where last year a few of their national grain silos got blown up. Some kind of a nitrate explosion or something like that happened away from their silos, but it blew up a lot of their food supply. So they were already needing help before the year ended, and now they're having a crisis with their currency, where it's being devalued, and the price of everything that they pay for is going up. That's one of the reasons why I think this is a very good story to learn from, right? Because that's what I feel will be coming to a city near you in the future. Food insecurity has become a major source of concern in Lebanon, which has been added to the list of the world's 20 most hunger hotspots in the need of urgent assistance. Last week, the UN and the World Food Program warned that acute hunger is due to rise steeply in most world regions, including the Middle Eastern countries of Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon, which are seriously affected by a rapid currency depreciation and skyrocketing inflation. But AP, that's happening there. What does that matter to us over here? Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is what's going to happen here. We are going to have a depreciation of our national currency. The dollar may seem somewhat strong right now, but I do believe that the dollar will continue to go down, and eventually our cost of living is going to dramatically increase. With Lebanon importing 80% of its food and the devaluation of the national currency, food prices have increased accordingly. But the most alarming factor is Lebanon's inability to maintain food subsidies for much longer due to the dwindling foreign currency reserves at the central bank, which dropped from 30 billion a year ago to 16 billion. Saeed warned that if food subsidies are removed, that will cause a deterioration in food security in the country. The price of bread. The subsidized food basket that includes 300 items, which is meat, poultry, oil products, milk, vegetables, and a whole bunch of other stuff, ladies and gentlemen, has been reduced from 300 items to 42 items. And it says here, ladies and gentlemen, that many of the subsidized foods, medicine, fuels were smuggled abroad, ending up in Syria and other countries, which means that the money that the government is spending to subsidize the food for the poor is probably ending up in the black market and being shipped to other countries. So, in point is that money that the government is spending to subsidize the food is not even helping their own people. Almost done, ladies and gentlemen, getting to the part where I really want you to listen to, because this is true no matter what country we live in. And ladies and gentlemen, here it says that even with subsidies on wheat, medicine, fuel, or electricity, the price of bread has increased 3x in the last few months. So now they're paying 3 times more for the same bread that they were paying for 3 months ago, or a few months ago. Bread is the food of the poor, and if the government decides to remove the subsidy completely, it'll go from the 3,000 that tripled from 1,000 to 10,000. So it'll triple again, actually a little more than triple. And here they tell a short story about a lady named Manar, a 36-year-old that has children in the ages of 5 to 17 months. She has been living on donations since her ex-husband lost his job as a salesman at a clothing store. And it says here that every month she receives a food box from a non-governmental group, and that her family and neighbors help her out by buying her fruits, vegetables, and some medicines for her kids. And she says here, this is the part, ladies and gentlemen, that you have to understand that is universal. It is the common denominator across the world governments. It says here, I am able to feed my children, but they haven't drank milk for 5 months. And then Manar, who asked not to be disclosed by her family, said that meat and chicken have become luxuries. Only the politicians can afford them. I mentioned this on a previous video. Look at all of the politicians up on the hill. The 537, 2 of which are in the White House, right? You got 435 in Congress, 100 in Senate, 2 in the White House. Ladies and gentlemen, have any of those 537 had any hardships in the last year that are comparable to the hardships that the average American people have had? And why have the average American people have had those hardships? Because of the decisions that are made by those 537, and in part by the governors of the states as well. But it says here, I repeat, meat and chicken have become luxuries. Only the politicians can afford them. And that's the sad state of affair that we see ourselves in here in the United States. It may not be that bad, ladies and gentlemen, but do you see it getting better? The reason they're going through this in Lebanon is because of a devaluation of their currency. Do you really think that our currency is going to get stronger or weaker with all of the money printing that's going on? And that's why we prepare, ladies and gentlemen. That is why we prepare. Because we know that in the end, it is us that we can depend on. It is ourselves, it is our community, it is our families. That's who we can depend on. Because in the end, while you're eating rice for 6 months straight, and maybe a few beans if you're lucky, they'll be eating chicken and beef. And that's just a fact of the matter. So if you want to learn how to cook rice 5 different ways, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at my 5-part rice series. If you haven't looked at it yet, I show you how to use your rice instead of leaving it in a bucket for 30 years. Other than that, thank you very much for joining in. I hope that you all have a good day. Remember that today on the Alaska Prepper News channel, we will be having a live stream at 3 p.m. Alaska time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So hope to see you there. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper. I am out.